This podcast is brought to you by ShortsTV and is not affiliated with the Oscars or the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences in any way.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to the ShortsTV podcast. I'm Carter Pilcher, and I'm joined, as always, by the one, the only Rasha Goel.
Oh, Carter, that is so wonderful. You know, that is a great intro to a TV show. I think I'm going to start thinking about that one. It's great to be back again. How are you doing now that this whole Oscars experience is winding down? It's been another year.
Yeah, I'm doing so great. You know, we saw fantastic films all the way through, lots of great teams, and in fact, we had 3 great sets of winning teams this year, but I have to tell you, my favorite part of the whole thing, the winning character in a winning short named after me. Loved it.
Of course, how could I not guess that? I guess I wouldn't mind that either. Yeah, you know, I have to say all the films this year were very strong contenders. It must have been difficult for the Academy members to choose just one because each held its own strength within its own entity.
I think that's exactly right. And so today we're going to start by catching up with one of the winning teams, actually, Michael Gouvier and Will McCormick with their Oscar-winning animation, If Anything Happens, I Love You.
Yes, and I'm so excited because we're not speaking to only one, but 2 Oscar-winning teams today. Right after we speak to them, we'll be speaking to the winners within the documentary short category, Anthony Jaquino and Elise Deuyard for their film Colette.
Well, clearly we've got a lot of interesting stories today, so let's head right into our first interview. If Anything Happens, I Love You.
Well, congratulations. We are so thrilled to have you on the ShortsTV podcast.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
We would love to hear about how the ceremony was for you. I mean, did you have any expectations going in? And once you were there, what was that entire arena like? Of course, we're dealing with the pandemic situation, so it was set up differently than it has been in previous years.
I mean, I've never been. Obviously, this is the first time. So I would say I thought it was outstanding. It was a cool event. But from what I saw previously, it was completely different. You know, you're not in a theater. You don't have those huge audiences. You don't have those huge crowds. You don't have all those people outside waving at all the celebrities as they all enter. But what you do have is this very intimate cocktail party, kind of a throwback to kind of a 50s looking Oscar, which was really cool. And it was very exciting because we actually got to meet all of our fellow nominees where you might not have had to do that in all the categories. You might not get that experience in another year because everyone is with their own little groups and there's just so many people there.
It was great. I mean, felt really quaint almost and intimate, and it felt filmmaker and story driven. It felt like an old school throwback to the Oscars where they just used to have a banquet. And we got the opportunity to talk to Steven Soderbergh at the end of the night, and he said he threw a party like one that he would want to attend, and it was really, really fun. I mean, I've never been before, and if I ever get the opportunity again, I know it won't be like it was because it was this one-time special event, so it felt like an anomaly, but it also felt cool to go to this one because it was different than every other year.
And you have to share with us, what was it like after you won the Oscar?
This is something I kind of assumed until you experience it. Maybe you don't know. When you're walking around a room carrying an Oscar, that's an instant conversation starter.
Good to know.
It's pretty exciting. So we were just like, we came off stage and walking around the corner, and Amanda Siegfried was walking to go on stage, and she sees me and I see her. I just nod like, hi, you know, fellow human in the world. And then she sees what I'm holding and she doubles back and she goes, oh my gosh, it's a congratulations. And we had a wonderful conversation, you know, and it was very sweet and she was very kind. But that happened countless times throughout the night.
Yeah, we were talking to Elvis Mitchell, and then he was great. And then we were taking photos with Reese Witherspoon, and the whole thing was like a blur, you know, but really, really cool. But I'm like I'm putting together pieces of the night.
I would probably do that for an entire week, I think. Just keep reliving every single moment because there's so many different things that probably happened from the time you arrived till the time you left. So
many, yeah.
And then you go, oh yeah, I did chat with Margot Robbie. Oh yeah, she was so nice. Right. You know, and it's just like these little kind of things. You're like, oh yeah, how cool are they?
What was that moment like when your names were announced and your film was announced as the Oscar winner. I would love to know what was going on inside your mind and your heart in that particular moment.
It hasn't really landed on me until today because there's so many feelings that you're experiencing, and I'm just trying not to trip on my way up there.
And you're not even wearing a dress.
I know, I know, but I am wearing nice shoes that are slippery. I'm just usually in my, Crocs at home. So it's surreal and overwhelming, and a moment that you dream about forever and that you never think is going to happen. But I'm just so proud to, be working with Michael and Marianne and the entire team. And it's by far the best filmmaking experience I've ever had because it was such a difficult journey, this movie. And to even finish it was difficult. And then to have it be picked up by Netflix, so much credit to Netflix. And then to go to the Oscars and then win, it's like a lot to take in.
It was an incredible response that we had on Netflix because you know how they have their top 10 lists that they release in every country. And no short on Netflix had ever really broken those top 10s because you have to do a tremendous amount of, millions of people have to watch your film to kind of break those top 10s in each country. And we broke 75 top 10s in 75 countries, and we were number one in 16 different countries. And it was just this astronomical response. We started getting feedback because, we have a lot of friends from around the world, and Will's friends that are living in Brazil, right, Will? They reached out to you and said, "You're number one here," right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I had friends who were in Italy. I had friends in Germany. They say, "You're number one on our Netflix right now," and everyone was sending us pictures. And so that's how we gathered all this data. And then we had other friends and said, "Hey, can you go and check what we're ranking is in every country?" And so then we kind of became obsessed to see where our rank was on any given day for any given country. And so we did this kind of home research project to get all these numbers. And it was so exciting to see this outpouring of response.
I think
That
that's
is amazing.
pretty incredible. It's incredible. And especially as we know, the entire genre of the short films, right, has been growing with audiences and with other filmmakers. So to be able to see that on Netflix, I think must be powerful. What does this win mean for you as a filmmaker and for the issue that it tackles?
That was a wonderful gift because with every one of these achievements, we won some film festivals, we got some notoriety there. It just shines more light that more people can actually see the film. And now that we've won an Academy Award, it opens it up and more people will watch, and we're hoping more discussions comes from it. And we've had a tremendous outpouring of support from Everytown for Gun Safety and Moms Demand Action, and they've been using the film to lead discussions in grief and to lead discussions forward about greater issues of loss from gun violence.
Our contribution to this discussion and this tragedy was through story. So, this was sort of our artistic rant on the subject. We have great partners in Laura Dern and Jamie Lemons at Everytown for Gun Safety and Gary Gilbert and Marian Garger. So as a team, we're going to continue to try to get the film and the story out to as many places as possible. And, the film it's apolitical, but it has such political ramifications because it's a political issue. But for us, we wanted to attack the story through loss and through grief, and to have people stop and take a moment that prevents this tragedy from being normalized. I think it happens with such frequency that people can sort of become numb to it. And for us, it was to stop and take a moment and shine a light on one story, one family, and have people walk through it in a way that they may not if they're reading the newspaper or watching the news. So our contributions through story, that's what I do by trade. I'm a storyteller. And I'll continue to try to make stories that matter.
It's a great gift for you and Michael to be able to take something that is so outrageous and polarized and have it be the most watched thing in 75 countries. I think that's absolutely amazing. And then win an Oscar on top of that. Will, you said earlier that there were 3 secrets to making a great short. And then, of course, you told us it was, there aren't any really. But now that you're there, now that you've made a great short and everybody has told you you've made a great short and given you little gold men to celebrate that fact, is there a secret?
I don't know if there's a secret, but I think that there is a doctrine, right? Like, and it's just stay true to your story. I mean, we received hundreds of no's, and that's not hyperbole. I mean, hundreds of no's. And we kept going back to the story, and we kept believing in the story, and we thought, we disagree. I don't think we think that there is an audience for this. We don't think it's ludicrous to tell an animated 2D short film about grief that nobody wants. We thought it was the right format. We thought animation was the right avenue. And so all of the no's really just reinforced the story because we kept going back to the thing that we all believed in. So I would really just say the good news is that it's not a secret. The bad news is that it's just hard work. But that ends up being the gift, you know?
I would say, talking to all of you, watching you go through these last few weeks, I would say the one other secret that I'm taking away is the importance of a great team.
Film is a team sport, and everyone played their role and did it to perfection and did it beautifully. And, we're only as good as the person next to us. So when you have everyone working in the same direction and everyone is on board making the same story, which is rare, it's a really powerful feeling. And we had that from the jump. Everyone was making the same movie, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a team sport where everyone's coming together, everyone's doing this, and we were very open to hear that collaborative process because that's part of it. Because it's like, no stone's going to go unturned because we want to know. It's like, well, what if you're seeing something that we're missing, or what if we're seeing something that you're missing? And I think it helps everyone to up their game to finally get us where we went.
Well, we are excited and thrilled for you both. We look forward to your next short and to your journey. And again, thank you both for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations. Stay in touch, guys.
I just loved listening to their stories. What a surreal experience. And it definitely sounds like it was truly a one-of-a-kind event, especially during this pandemic.
Definitely. It's always fascinating to get a sense of the atmosphere. And I think really this year probably was even more unique than ever.
Yeah, Carter, I have to say hats off to the Academy for putting on this event and the way they did it, because I can only imagine the challenges that they had to go through. And I'm really glad that this event was held because I'm sure this win will definitely help spread awareness for their film.
I think not only for their film, but for lots of the films. And I think, the same thing can be said for our next Oscar winners, Anthony Jaquino and Elise Deuyard, for their documentary, Colette. Anthony and Elise, it is great to have you with us. Congratulations on such a big win. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're so excited for you both. Congratulations. Can you share with us what your experience was like during the ceremony?
Before we went in there, Elisa and I just started telling each other that it's okay that we're probably not going to get this. And you know what I mean? We were just we're here. It's just kind of, it's fun. We sort of have been, I'm sure everyone was talking like that. It was just hey, this has been really great. It was a moment of knowing this is it.
Right.
Yeah.
All of this stuff, as they before they sort of brought us up there, and we were just it's been really great, and it's been fun, and let's whatever is going to happen is going to happen now. And then we sort of go up and sit down.
So we arrive at the table, and I told them, look, I just want to spot to you guys that we are at a table which has direct access to the stage.
Yeah. And then the lights go on and stuff, and they're this countdown. And really, we weren't sitting there for, I don't know, a minute, 90 seconds most.
Not even the time to look around in the room. And then suddenly on the screen, you could see Marley Matlin speaking. And then suddenly, when she opened the envelope, she did this.
Ah, so she formed the letter C with her hand.
This is the C.
The C.
And when you sign something, when you spell a name, you don't sign, you sign the letter. Then it hit us.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't really know what that was, so that's an amazing explanation.
It's weird to use the word magical, but that's really what I could say because, the day or 2 days before we had a nice Zoom with all of the documentary nominees. And I had said, in that Zoom, I said, I kind of wish it just ended here. Like this was sort of like the end of the thing because, how do you really choose between all of these films, right? And I kind of felt like the documentary branch really honored us. Like that was the real honor because they were our colleagues. That's, sort of how I really was feeling about it. And then, this was just sort of the magic touch on top of it.
And with Elise also, I think it was important, Elise, like it was really touching to me how you mentioned this was for women taking a stand everywhere. I really felt that in my heart. And did you have this prepared or did that just come to your mind and heart when you were on that stage?
I thought about this the day before. And we exchanged with Anthony about what we would say. Of course, we wanted to be prepared, but this really comes from the heart. And I do believe also that you see, like this ceremony, this Oscar 2021, the diversity is huge. So there's a lot of women, but there's also a lot in the diversity in age. With Anthony Hopkins and Colette, or like we celebrate also the various ages of life.
It was fantastic. And one of the things, though, that I'm dying, I have to ask. So tell us, please, about Colette. What was Colette's reaction? What did she do? What did she say? We've all become quite attached to her just by watching her story.
And wasn't it her birthday as well? 93rd
Yes.
birthday on the 93rd Oscars?
Yes.
There couldn't have been a better present, right? A birthday present, than having it. Yeah.
And so we when we were just out of the stage, between Brad Pitt and Harrison Ford, we had the time to call Colette.
Aw,
Yes.
and what did she say?
She said, "It's late, kids, mes enfants," because she calls us kids. Okay? It's late. You have other things to do now. Think of your career. Don't call an old woman.
Oh, how sweet is she?
I got a quick hello into her, and she told me, make sure you give Michael Moore a kiss from me. Because he had interviewed her sort of along the ways for one of our events we did with the Museum of Tolerance, and they got along very, very well.
Aww.
That is great.
And Anthony and Elise, now speaking of celebration, I mean, so many beautiful moments leading up to this, but this win, it is such a huge win. What would you say this win means for your film and for the issue that it tackles?
Before Sunday, the Guardian's YouTube channel, as a good example, had around 170,000 views. It's over 300,000 now, right? So just the fact that, the visibility, it raises the visibility of the film, which is great, which is obviously something we want. I mean, Elise and I have talked about this, even with the whole team, that we have agreed, even before this, that, this would be an end of some phase, but it really is to continue for us because we want it to be in schools, we want it to be at universities, and we want to be able to talk to people, about the issues and about the film. And for me, sort of this issue of just making sure sort of we understand, doesn't matter what country we're in, sort of the past that that we were dealt in a way, and sort of how that impacts the present, and just to be mindful of that and to recognize that.
Yes, we made this film for the young generation, for trying to reach young people. So this is we have an amazing opportunity to have the film seen by many young people and less young. At the origin, it was educational content what we were doing, and this spirit has not changed. We wanted to help Colette to transmit. So this film is what it is, and transmission, memory, and it is there now. It is on the film. So it will be always available for everybody.
Fantastic. And now here is a lesson. Rasha and I, since we've last seen you, we got together three critics, and we went through all the films, and then we had them pick who they thought was going to win. The interesting thing was, two of them liked your film best, but none of them thought you were going to be the winner. So I think the lesson from this is maybe critics need to go more frequently with their heart and not so much with their tally sheet. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. One thing that I did not expect on this journey, I just wasn't expecting it. I mean, I guess I should have been. Now that your work is out there, that people will be free to like say how much they don't like it. I mean, I know that kind of sounds crazy, but it just didn't like occur to me. And so if we're talking about critics, there were a couple of things that I don't know, I was not pleased with. I'll leave it at that. And I kind of, I talked with my brother about this, and I talked with some other filmmakers, and I was advised that, you really shouldn't worry about, not even bother reading them. This is why you have friends and colleagues. That's what they're for. They'll look at your film and they'll really tell you, you know what I mean? What it is. So that was just sort of my critic sense, during this. But I think you may be onto something in terms about going with, your heart as opposed to what you think might be. I don't know. I just think these things are really hard. This one in particular, especially, there's so many people voting on this. Over 9,000 people or so.
And great, great films. But the truth is, honestly, I think that in a general rule in life, we should carefully, but always go with our heart.
Yeah.
I think that's.
I'm with you, Elise. And I
Yeah.
always feel when you do something out of service or to help others, it'll always somehow still come back to you in a good way, because you are out there putting yourself out to help somebody else without any expectations.
Yeah.
So I always feel that you can't go wrong with that.
I mean, that's certainly how we approached the film. That's how we approached Colette, and just sort of how we went about, doing this. We sort of really were leading with our heart and sort of caring, about it, whether that was about, her, or just, even down to the details of how we're going to actually shoot a particular thing.
I of course have to ask, because I think our listeners will enjoy hearing this as we wrap up, but you shared a fun Harrison Ford story before we got on. Could you please repeat that story? Because I think for anybody who has a favorite and they get to see one of their favorites backstage, there must be a special moment.
So we were waiting, and we were kind of at the last station. After you get the award, you're moved from like, okay, these are the press people that want to talk to you, and then here is the Academy's live Facebook feed, and they're going to interview you, and then the last thing was the Vanity Fair photograph. We were waiting for that. Harrison Ford is there, and I'm like watching him go by, and he walks into the spot where they're doing it, and I'm just like, I'm gonna get a picture with him, so I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no way if I'm holding this statue that he's gonna like say no. Can't happen, right? So we're kind of like, just waiting, and then he comes out, and I just sort of like go right up to him, and Elise is next to me, and I just said, if I just want to say that, if my 12-year-old self could see myself holding this, standing next to you, like, my head would kind of like explode. He was like, oh, that's very sweet of you to say. And, can we get a picture? And so I take that, trying to get this like selfie. And then, as, Elise did most of the time on the shoot, she sort of brings everything back down to like, like, okay, like we will make this real. And then he sort of had a nice conversation with you, Elise, didn't he?
Ouais.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the beginning it was fun, and we were laughing, and then suddenly he turns to me and he says, let's take a picture. I loved your speech and I love France.
Oh, fantastic! That is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a
And then
priceless
we
moment.
got the
So yeah, I want to say that indeed at our age we all grew up with this iconic figure.
Yeah.
Star Wars first, then Indiana Jones. Like this was this was my ideal man. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
You see,
there's
and
so many of us.
yes, and what I discovered Sunday, I think I knew this already. I had read this somewhere, but I discovered a very kind man who
Yeah.
says, "I heard your speech, and I loved what you said. When you're
Yeah.
so famous, or you're like
Yeah.
it's so kind.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Such a heart."
Yeah,
Shows you the kind of person he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I think that's so
And then
cool.
we got a proper photograph.
Yay!
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Carter, Rasha, and everybody.
Well, if there's anything I've learned, Carter, from interviewing both of these teams, it's that winning an Oscar leads to loads of interesting stories. And I just love when they hold up their Oscars. I don't know, there's this moment of pride.
I think it is absolutely fantastic. A few years ago at Soho House, there was a guy who won a short film Oscar, and he became kind of a legend because he went there every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and took his Oscar and put it in the center of the table for the entire week.
No.
Yes, for the entire week after the Oscars ceremony. So I think it is a great
How
thing.
fun.
And you know what? I would probably do it for 2 weeks. I don't
You
know.
would do it for a month, Carter.
Maybe I would. It's such a big deal. But, I agree with you, Rash. It's such fun to get these kind of insights, to hear all the really cool stuff that's going on. I'm sure our listeners at home really enjoyed them too.
Speaking of our listeners, we hope that you've enjoyed this entire Oscars journey, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on this year's winners. So make sure you tag or tweet us at ShortsTV US. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to all the episodes, make sure you go back and listen.
And don't forget to subscribe. Great to have you, and goodbye.